Welcome to Practically Political. Great to have you with us again. I'm Dave Spencer.
And I'm Carrie Sheffield. We've got a very special episode today. There's a lot going on in geopolitics, and one of the most preeminent scholars on Russian affairs and just geopolitics. We're so lucky to have her. My good friend who I've known for, more than 15 years, or around 15 years or so. Maria Snegovaya is here. She's a scholar. She's got her PhD from Columbia University. She has a new book, which I'd love for her to tell us about it maybe at the end. But Maria, we're so glad to have you. And you're an expert on Vladimir Putin. You're an expert on just the former Eastern Bloc USSR. And then also your current book is about the current state of basically populism that's sweeping across Europe. So welcome, Maria.
Thanks a lot for having me, Carrie and Dave. Glad to be here.
So Maria, why don't you tell us a bit about your reaction? We just heard this news about Alexei Navalny. Tell us what you know about him. And you said earlier that it's to be expected from what we know about Putin.
Well, unfortunately, it's a horrible day. One thing that a lot of people were suspecting was going to happen eventually when Navalny got back home, got back to Russia, having been poisoned previously, as we know now, by FSB. It was a great investigation by Krista Grozeva and Navalny team about that. And clearly he was serious. He was a challenge for the Kremlin, let's put it this way. The Kremlin wanted to get rid of Navalny, probably in preparation to the war, as it increasingly looks these days. So Navalny gets poisoned in August 2020. He is, with negotiation of Germany, is sent to Germany from Russia for treatment. He's poisoned with this nerve agent Novichok, specially produced chemical that it can only be done on using the state-run facilities. He recovers miraculously because apparently the FSB agents miscalculated the dosage when they wanted to murder him. And he quite heroically, several months after, without even being fully recovered, goes back to Russia early in 2021, hoping perhaps that there will be certain protests, certain mobilization of the society, perhaps helping him to stay safe. And also, obviously, he felt morally responsible to support his followers back in Russia who have been arrested since then. And unfortunately, he's jailed again. There are some protests, but they're just very few, sporadic. And since then, he's been kept in jail, increasingly getting more and more sentence terms, repeated accusations, charges, which essentially ended up his total jail time up to several decades. But it's quite widely understood that whoever dies first, Navalny or Putin. Well, apparently Putin did not want to wait, as we know. Today, he's been murdered, and frankly, the very fact that he survived in jail for 3 years is already a miracle, because given what we know about Putin, the Kremlin, how vicious, unforgiving they are, the fact that they already tried to poison Navalny once, certainly, unfortunately, did not leave a lot of hope for him surviving in jail. I want to say particularly how amazingly courageous Navalny was. Even from jail, he kept sending these extremely uplifting messages, blog posts. And he certainly is a hero in this classic, sense. He did say some wrong things in the past, for which he apologized, some xenophobic statements, but he apologized for that, and it looks like he really did pay the price for maybe perhaps some early mistakes in his career. Most importantly, he did demonstrate a lot of courage, and he was sort of a symbol for many in the Russian society. With him gone, I think most people will abandon hopes of the so-called beautiful Russia of the future. It's this concept that he promoted. And it seems that Russia has fallen deeper and deeper in this totalitarian abyss, back to its horrible past with repressions, murders of political prisoners, and wars of imperial conquest.
Gosh, Maria, I'm so sorry. It's a loss for your country. It's a loss for the world. But I guess what makes me saddest is asking honestly, are there really going to be any recriminations? Is Putin going to suffer for this on the world stage. It looks like his economy now is back as strong as it ever was. He survived the slowdown in gas and oil sales to Europe. The ruble has come back. You look at it, you check off every box, and Russia seems to be doing, sadly, on many metrics, better than it was before the war 2 years ago. So, what does this bode for the future, and what's going to happen from here?
Well, absolutely, Dave. I think the point here is that Putin acts boldly. He's emboldened when he feels quite invincible, uncontained, right, unconstrained. And I think that's the case both with his invasion of Ukraine. There's an ongoing debate within the Russian liberal community. Essentially, what was the reason underlying the war against Ukraine, the new invasion of Ukraine in 2022? Was it because Putin was really afraid for his ratings and he was trying to get rid of the Russian opposition and start this war in order to unite this country, the society around him? Or was it because he was actually feeling quite unconstrained and unchallenged domestically? And that's why he was free, essentially, to act on his imperial ambitions. And frankly, I think that, among other things, Navalny's murder today demonstrates, well, alleged murder. We still have not gotten confirmation from his relatives and close ones, but it's likely it didn't in fact happen. But it kind of shows to confirm the second argument that Putin acts bolder when he doesn't feel many obstacles. And indeed, as you pointed out, unfortunately, 2 years into the war, it's not Russia, it's the West that is divided on Ukraine aid, on the importance of support of Ukraine, on the importance of continuing fighting this war. Domestically, Russia continuously getting a lot of high oil revenues. As a matter of fact, just as you mentioned, recently Bloomberg reported that Russia's monthly revenues 1 year into the oil price cap, which was designed to reduce them, actually are now higher than before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. So much for sanctions from hell. Unfortunately, it's not for the lack of trying. I want to give credit to the policymakers in the West. The problem is that Russia's economy is just too big, and Russia's oil or energy constitute too large of a share of the market. Accordingly, the sanctions were designed to perhaps try to reduce Russia's revenues, somewhat in violation of the basic principles of the market, because the way markets work is that it's hard to decrease the price artificially. But keeping the Russian oil on the markets, and we see that so far it does not seem to work very well. The important thing for us to realize, and that was the key takeaway from the Congress briefing, which I gave earlier this week in combination with other experts, we need to understand Russia and rethink Russia under current regime as a long-term challenge to the national security interests of the United States and the West more broadly. Putin is not after a territorial conquest of Ukraine. He really wants to challenge the United States, its dominance, its role in the international liberal system as the ultimate arbiter. And really, he wants to destroy the liberal international order. You see that this is the regime without any moral repercussions, any limits. And unfortunately, we need to brace ourselves for a really serious long-term fight, which might as well spread into Western societies if we don't act right now to support Ukraine.